Are the reigning
Yeah.
MLS finalists in trouble? Are there other cities in the US where an MLS team could finally arrive? We discuss relocation news and a lot more in this week's episode of the Football Magazine Club podcast. My name is Ryan Lee. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Emmanuel is down below. John's joining us remotely today because he's got a coach later. But thank you so much for joining us as always. And for the latest in all things footy, subscribe down below. Boys, it was a very interesting week throughout the entire soccer landscape. Before I get to that, Emmanuel, you at the Open Cup game yesterday. Tell us what that whole experience was like watching Charlotte and Atlanta go toe-to-toe in the Open Cup.
Yeah, it was a different experience. Charlotte FC went in there not too confident. It showed in the result. It showed in the way that they played the first 45 minutes. I mean, honestly, everybody was expecting Charlotte to pull through and finally make it past this round since they've never been able to make it past this round. Overall, fans are not happy with the way Charlotte is playing, especially with the whole thing about them not being able to perform when they're away. And then, they thought that they were going to be competitive in the US Open Cup at least. And now they're out. Their disappointment showed in them leaving the stadium early.
I mean, it's not usually a great sign to see, especially, when you guys had a pretty good start too, right?
Yeah, it was a great start. I mean, we didn't really lose any of the games at home. We tied one against Inter Miami, I think. But I mean, yeah, it was a positive start overall until now.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I've been following Charlotte FC a lot more this year since we started the podcast and playing against them too, but they're a good team, but there was this excitement at the start of the season. And just going through social media and stuff, I feel like people are just getting more and more frustrated with, I would say, the coach. I don't know. I feel like Emmanuel can maybe talk more about it, but this is me just speaking from an outside perspective. But I feel like people think that, because I think he made a comment today, I saw a quote and said MLS is the most even league in the world because of all the restrictions when it comes to salaries and stuff like that. And the comment from someone else was like, yeah, that's why the coach really makes a difference. Because when it's a field that is so leveled in terms of players, your DPs and your coach are going to make a difference. And I just want to kind of get your opinion, Emmanuel, because obviously you've been following Charlotte FC for a while and you're a fan. So what do you make of that quote and this fan's comment?
I mean, what you're saying, it's pretty true. A lot of the fans are not happy with, Dean. I think Brian in the Top Being 90 crew called a video of a fan actually like going at it with Dean Smith, telling him, if you know these players are not going to perform, why do you continue to play them, especially in an important game as the US Open Cup, which it may seem unimportant to teams who have won everything like LA Galaxy, maybe like Orlando, Miami. But for Charlotte FC, it's important because it's something that we can actually obtain. It seems obtainable. And every time we get to that one part of the tournament, we just cannot perform. And it always comes down to coaching decisions. I mean, what was the whole point of like resting Kerwin if we were already going to lose this weekend anyways? Because, I mean, Kerwin and Ninfasha, they're two players that this whole season they've been showing out for their teams. Kerwin with Charlotte FC, the first team, and Ninfasha with Crown Legacy. I mean, he has been scoring up until last night. He had been scoring in every single game that he played. So you're not happy, but I could say that it's kind of divided. Half of the fans, they're not happy with Dean, but also the other half, they understand that Dean can only do so much due to the sporting director that Charlotte FC does have in place right now.
So, like, what do you think in terms of, and I only know this from all the games and stuff and interviews I've done in MLS Next Pro, but what do you think of the idea of like bringing in some of these young guys and getting them those opportunities? Because I feel like, just speaking to a lot of those coaches and such, that is kind of the trajectory where they end up going, where they want to play the young kids, give them the chance with the first team, just to use the cup as a chance to kind of try them out, perhaps.
I feel like it's a good opportunity to do it, but for a team like Charlotte who has trying to establish themselves as a big club in the MLS, we have the fan base, we have the stadium, we have the city, we have everything rallying behind us except results. So what people want to see is results. So this is a situation where we don't want to try out, the younger players in a competition that could potentially be won, like the US Open Cup, in comparison to the league or the supporter shields. So for a lot of fans, the US Open Cup just seems like a more obtainable goal. So that's why people are just upset about it.
Now, I understand, a lot of things are frustrated within Charlotte, but you kind of know that at the very least, you guys are kind of going to be in a spot where you have that chance to improve, right? Versus the people right now in BC who are very even uncertain of whether or not their team is even going to exist at all, considering all the issues they've had with BC Place and the Whitecaps. John, I'm sure you've probably seen this around, all the different experience you've had in soccer, but going from a finalist to potential relocation, I feel like it's got to be an absolutely startling realization for what could be the future of the Whitecaps.
Yeah, I think it's tough to see, because the Whitecaps have been in Vancouver for a long time, and it's struggled for a long while. The club struggled for a long while to get to a place where they're winning games and being competitive. And last year, like you said, making all the way to the final, and being one of the best teams in the West. Great start this year, and the talk is not how we're going to make this team stronger. It's not viable to stay here because of the financial situation, and a call out for help in the sense of like, if anyone can do it, we'd love to stay. But realistically, it looks like we're going to be moving away. And just as a business side, it's just a pity because you built a solid fan base. People care about the team, and now you're just moving. Like, you're just going to move to a new city. And, they did it with the Raiders not too long ago in the NFL, but it just doesn't feel like something that should happen in sports because, the fan base is in that city and then you're just moving the club. I don't know. For me as a European, it makes absolutely no sense.
Let me read the statement, and then Emmanuel, I know you had some thoughts. So if anyone hasn't actually read the statement yet, it goes as such. From Monday the 27th, we are aware of today's reporting. The club has faced well-documented structural challenges around stadium economics, venue access, and revenue limitations that have made it difficult to attract buyers committed to keeping the team in Vancouver. In the last 16 months, they've had serious conversations with more than 100 parties, and to date, no viable offer has emerged that would keep the club here, meaning in Vancouver. It remains a strong preference of the ownership group to find a solution in Vancouver. If there is a local ownership group within the vision or resources to chart a path forward, we urge them to come forward. And that basically means that they have had offers, but nothing's fit the bill. And that most certainly could be a huge part of why these talks are even happening in the first place.
Yeah, it's especially after the type of season that they had last year, with Thomas Mueller coming in, Bill Halter, having a great season. So again, like John said, it's just a sad thing to see, especially in the world of soccer here in the United States and Canada in this situation. It's a sport that is trying to establish itself as a big market for the world. So seeing this type of issues is sad because we can also think back to what happened to Georgia before the season even started, how they just folded. So yeah, sad situation. But what are your thoughts, Ryan?
So I actually want to take a second and just go through like who is actually owning the Vancouver Whitecaps, because it just came up to me while you're in the middle of talking. So one of them is Jeff Mallet or Mallet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he's basically an executive at Yahoo. Steve Nash, the NBA player. Yes, that's Steve Nash. And then you have this guy, Steven Luxo, who is, I guess, one of the chairs over at Seagate. I think one of the opportunities that could be had is maybe the Aquilini family who own the Vancouver Canucks. And you also do have another pro team there with the BC Tigers, I believe is what they're called, the Canadian Football League. I believe they're called the BC Tigers. You're going to have to check me on that. British Columbia. They're called the British Columbia Tigers. Yes, I was right. Oh, the Lions. My bad. They're called BC Lions, not BC Tigers. But there's also a Canadian football team out there, the BC Lions, and there's definitely opportunities for pro sports to work in Vancouver. And there are ownership groups within Vancouver. I think the BC people would hate it if it's the Aquilinis because they don't like him right now in the NHL, let alone the MLS. But I did see some clamors of maybe Ryan Reynolds being in the group because he's Western Canadian, perhaps. So what do you guys think of the opportunity, kind of like what David Beckham has done, what Ryan Reynolds has done, of maybe like celebrity ownership or a group of them, especially with what the Reach Canada has with guys like Ryan Reynolds maybe, or Michael Bublé perhaps. I'm just listing Canadian celebrities at this point.
Justin Bieber?
Perhaps.
Yeah,
We're
I think like,
they're just gonna do a union of famous Canadians, and they're just gonna run the Whitecaps. That's the plan here, Ryan.
Drake is going to lead the whole thing.
I mean, the Whitecaps have Steve Nash right now.
He owns a team in La Liga. Mallorca, fun fact as well. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I think the numbers that we're talking about are ginormous because if they've met just a lot of people with a lot of money, a lot of companies, a lot of CEOs, a lot of groups that come together and buy a club. But the value of an MLS club right now is crazy. If they haven't found anyone by now who's willing to invest that money and is looking at the bigger picture and saying it's just not viable to stay in Vancouver, it's probably because they don't own their own stadium. The cost of running the club there in Canada as well is probably really high in terms of taxes, all these situations. Again, I'm not an expert in this in the topic, but it sounds like it's just not viable for any businessman to go in and say, I'm going to make money out of this. So the sad situation is MLS going to try and help? You know, because I was also reading something and saying, well, MLS could also put their own money and try and help the club stay there, but it's going to be tough.
I mean, you mentioned the Vegas example, right? I'm pretty sure the MLB did the exact same thing to keep the Athletics afloat and then proceeded to move them to Vegas, since you kind of mentioned Vegas earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about the Raiders, right? I mean, yeah, but the Raiders had a plan. They built a new stadium, and they probably ran the numbers and said the cost is going to be this, but in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we're going to make our money back. I'm sure whoever's looking at it right now is not looking at it and saying, oh, I'm going to make my money back in 5 years or 10 years. It's a big, big investment. But I'm sure they'll look at different options and say, okay, if we move this, and I know you want to talk about it, right? But let's see what options we have. If we move it to Vegas, if we move it to Phoenix, if we move it to whatever it is, how long until I start making money? Because that's all people care about. People running clubs are not, if they cared about the club and the identity, they would just keep it in Vancouver. But also, people don't want to lose money. People running the clubs don't want to lose money. And like the emotional part, but I'm sure they're looking at it black and white. And it seems like if you look at it black and white, there's not a lot of possibilities of the club staying there.
Yeah, so this is the perfect opportunity for, Canada to just kind of take a step back and just look at the reasons why teams are not able or just have a hard time developing within the country. Because let's say that they do move the team entirely outside of Vancouver. I mean, the state's going to lose all of the revenue that was being generated by the team being there. So instead of losing that revenue altogether, you know, I would say that a bipartisan solution would be to just maybe give them some sort of tax break for a couple years and have them, compensate the city or the country in a different way, after that break kind of goes away, right? That's kind of what I'm seeing. Because I mean, Canada doesn't want to continue to be looked as a country that can't develop teams or players or become a powerhouse in soccer. Because I mean, we've seen Alfonso Davis do amazing things, and I mean, I'm sure they want to continue on that upward path.
And you kind of mentioned that too, of like, what if they just find a buyer, but it won't stay in Canada? You know, that's another part of it is like, I've been seeing some rumblings and some rumors and some comments of like, we might get to a point where the CPL and the MLS are just literally completely separated. That's just a Canadian league and American league. There's not that crossover. And that's most certainly a possibility within, what could be coming up down the horizon. And I think it would be a huge loss for the Caps because they clearly show that they have an interest there. They clearly have a market there. It's just due to these outside circumstances, it's not working. But you kind of mentioned something that I think really transitions well into my next topic, which is opportunities and options within the US, right? So you ready to get your draft boards ready, gentlemen? As we segue into one of my favorite segments, which is the draft. And coming off the heels of the NFL draft, which was this past weekend, I figured, why not do another one of these? This was very fun the first time we did it. So we did a draft. We set up our boards of cities that could use either an MLS team or a first division team. This is not limited to teams that don't have a pro soccer team. So if they have a pro soccer team, but not an MLS team / first division team, they were up for grabs, or just any team that didn't have soccer, period, was up for grabs. Last time the order was me, John, and Emmanuel. This time we will rotate the selection order. So John will be first, Emmanuel will be second, I will be third, but it's snake draft. So I get the 3-4 back to back. Emmanuel gets the same thing at the 6 and 7. 3 rounds drafted. Number 1 on the board. John Vaccaro, you're officially on the clock.
Phoenix. I mean, I was there. Great city. It's the only major league sport.
So I know the Las Vegas Lights are already in Las Vegas, but I feel like an MLS team could come in and be beneficial to the region as a whole as it continues to, develop and, grow as a city. I feel like there's a market there despite there already being two teams in the state.
I mean, you guys both took some really good ones, but I'm glad I get the 3-4 here. I think the 3, it's a team that has a rich sports history. They have a USL team there already, recently winning one. And I think if a sports city could wash away the misfortunes of the summer that has been the Pittsburgh Pirates and bring the Riverhounds potentially into Division One, I think that'd be excellent. So give me Pittsburgh and back to back. Give me New Orleans. I'm surprised they straight up have no pro soccer there whatsoever. And that's a fantastic city, both as a city and as a sports city. So give me Pittsburgh and NOLA back to back.
I've said this one before, but I think South Carolina could be an option.
Anywhere in particular? Like, that's a big state, buddy.
Yeah, so I was saying that South Carolina, Spartanburg would be a good location. I know it's in close proximity to Charlotte FC, but again, there's so much talent down there, not only in South Carolina, but just North Carolina, Virginia, and South Carolina are 3 states that provide a lot of great talent to the rest of the United States when it comes to college soccer. So I think for that reason, it would be like a great choice.
Okay, I want to be a little bit outside the box here, but I'm gonna say Madison, Wisconsin has a League One team, probably one of the best clubs fans in the league. I think it'll be a cool spot. I feel like we've seen it with Minnesota, we've seen it with Columbus, we've seen it. Some of this Midwestern teams are always great and they get a lot of fans. So
Dang, I did have Wisconsin on my board, but get the back-to-back pick, John, to wrap up round 3.
well, I get another one. Okay,
That's right. Round 3 starts with you.
round 3 starts with me. Okay, well, I'm gonna go back to one of my
Snake draft.
old teams as well. Memphis. No,
Ooh.
NBA major league sport, but when the club first started before COVID, they got a lot of fans. It's a big city that I think if had major league soccer, they could run out good crowds there as well.
That did not even cross my board, but I wish it did. Now that I said it. E, your final pick?
I don't know. This one's weird. Let's see.
I was gonna say another city in South Carolina. I just really wants another South Carolina.
He's going to be like, Charleston Battery gets promoted.
Just love South Carolina for some reason. Were you born in South Carolina or something?
I would no. I would say let's do Delaware. Yeah, let's go. I don't know, dude. I feel like there's just a huge population of people that don't live the strip of Delaware, dude. They just stay there. They're there. They don't want to go to New York. They don't want to go to Philly. They're just like, you know what? It'd be nice if we had an MLS team here, and it would be such a niche little market because it's such a specific region with specific industries. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to close this thing out by just absolutely clowning E-Man right now because I have 3 big ones on my board. 2 of them I'm going to take off. Detroit was on my board and Tampa was on my board. And I'm going to omit my own home city of Buffalo, New York because of homerism. And I'm taking Detroit. That is probably like the biggest sports market aside from Phoenix that doesn't have like a soccer team in the MLS. Like they have DCFC up there, and I know they draw really well. And I know that Detroit is like another, John mentioned before, kind of Midwestern, very sports obsessed city. They have everything. They have football. They have a basketball national champion. They have the number 1 seed, the Pistons. The Tigers were solid, and a soccer team there would be excellent for Detroit. And also, Michigan's sick.
Yeah, I feel like that could be led by the Ford company too. So it's like they could have it made.
Ford FC.
Ford FC, why not?
Ford
they're in Formula One now.
Hey, Ford is watching this. I want to get a Ford F-150, so if they want to give me a discount.
We need that sponsorship.
DCFC and just the giant Ford logo in the front.
Yes.
Oh, can you imagine they play games at Ford Field, though? Would that be sick? If they played at the indoor stadium, open up the roof. I don't know if that roof opens up, but I think it does.
And the Mustang logo.
Fun fact, I played a game at the Colts Stadium with the roof closed. Back in...
At Lucas Oil?
2018 at Lucas Oil Stadium. 18, I was playing for Toronto, and they sent me with the second team, which was back then just USL. There was no USL Championship in League One. And played against Indy 11, Lucas Oil Stadium. And they had like 6,000-7,000 fans, which is actually a pretty good show. but it felt so empty because Lucas Oil, I don't know how big it is, maybe 75,000 people. And all the lines were there. It was like really weird, but it's probably one of the sickest venues I've ever played. So fun fact.
Okay, so
That's cool,
it
man.
actually, this ironically enough goes into a topic we talked about on the episode that didn't air of like the switch of the calendar, right? And if MLS were to or anything else, you have to deal with the cold weather, right? So how like sick would that be if, let's say, for example, I'm throwing out hypotheticals here, there is that Detroit team like we took in the draft and they play at Ford Field. Or there's a New Orleans team like in that mock draft, and they do play games at the Superdome. Like, wouldn't that just like I feel like that'd just be kind of sick? Or maybe your Phoenix team. I mean, it'd be probably rising going up. But what if they do play at State Farm Stadium, for example?
I mean, another fun fact: when I was in Phoenix, it was 2018, and the ownership group was really pushing to go to MLS. And one of the reasons that MLS was really not loving the idea, or one of the reasons was because playing in Phoenix in the summer was probably not viable. And there were talks about us playing at the baseball stadium downtown that is covered. And that never happened. But now that it's going to be a European season, I feel like Phoenix is right back in the conversation. We talk about the cold cities that it can affect, but also it opens up the door to maybe cities like Phoenix where playing in the summer it's tough. Trust me. I know.
This is my 2 cents, John, but do you feel like maybe people in the suits make decisions based on how they don't want to experience the heat because they're wearing a whole suit the whole time? And then mess it up for the players because think about it, like if that was the situation in countries like Mexico, half the teams will not exist due to weather, due to elevation, due to like this and that. So I feel like there should be a little more like freedom in the cities that they choose, and like let it be more about the fan base and what's already there, or like the potential, instead of like, oh, it's just gonna be really hot in the summer.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I've played in Phoenix in the summer, 120 degrees. I think it was like every day over 100 when we came out to train, and it's fine. And I've played in, when I was playing in Toronto in February, you're playing in probably 30-degree weather, and trust me, you still play the game, and that's just how it is. So it's just part of it.
I mean, but can you imagine though, for like, let's say a Detroit, for example, right? Or like an Indy, like you mentioned, like having those like specialty games at like Ford Field or Lucas Oil because they want to have a home game, but like close the roof off. Like that also opens that opportunity too. Like obviously you have to sign off with the respective owners and stuff, but even just then, like just the opportunity to like play in like an NFL stadium just for like, even if it's just for like one game in the middle, like February, March, where it's still blizzarding outside, but they want to have the game anyway. Like that'd be a cool element to have, I feel like.
But we see it all the time with teams moving stadiums. Like we saw DC United move the game when Messi came into town. We saw Colorado move the game when you need a bigger stadium. The NFL stadiums are available. You can normally rent them out. And Atlanta United plays in an NFL stadium. New England plays in an NFL stadium. A lot of the clubs are owned by the same people that own the NFL team. So when it comes to some of these teams, I don't see a reason why they cannot play there. Like why Indy 11 could not play at the Colts Stadium, because I feel like there was also at some point a talk of Indy going to MLS, and it was going to be the same owner of the Colts buying the club. But yeah.
So should we make the argument that every city that has an NFL team should have a high possibility of having a MLS team? Which I think at this point it's pretty much there.
I think so. I think maybe Jacksonville doesn't have one. There's maybe Buffalo, which I would love to. Like we didn't say it in the draft, but I think Buffalo, Northern New York, is one of those places that I feel like could rally some people if they had an MLS team, USL team. They would love that.
Rally Ryan.
I would love to go play in the cold in New York. Like that'd be cool. Like there's definitely a lot of markets where there's still options for MLS or USL or League One. The leagues are growing, but we definitely need to make sure that once those clubs come in, especially in the USL environment, that there's a viability plan so they can stay along, right? Because I feel like there was something that I read that a USL club has disappeared every year for the last 10 seasons or something. So there's definitely something that is not right in terms of viability of owning an USL club compared to an MLS club, where it's been a while since we've seen an MLS club disappear.
Totally valid in that own right. But kind of shifting in that same perspective of like sharing the NFL stadiums with, whatever pro soccer team would be there. Kind of branching off of that, like what would be maybe a venue in a different sport, let's say, because we see USL teams use soccer stadiums. We've seen them use football stadiums in the MLS. Like what would
And
be
baseball.
a venue? Yeah, no, that's why I said for the USL example. Like a lot of USL teams use baseball stadiums. A lot of the MLS teams are using.
And New York City.
That's true. I forgot about NYC. I keep forgetting about NYC because they play at Yankee, which just it looks so weird. But
And
what would
Citi
be
Field,
like
too.
another? They do everything there in NYC. I guess it's New York at the end of the day, right? But like when you consider that, like what would be maybe other non-soccer venues that would just be sick to host? Like we've seen the Rose Bowl, we've
Lacrosse.
seen Yankee Stadium. There was like a July 4th El Trafico game. They hosted at the Coliseum. So like, but what are the other like
mean-
maybe crazy outdoor venues like that? Like Dodger Stadium?
There's a lot of like college stadiums that are iconic and big enough and more than capable to host a lot of these MLS
Okay, I want you-
competitions.
Emmanuel, I want you to hold your thoughts, okay? So give
Okay.
it a thought of stadium, whatever sport that you would like an MLS game to be played. And I'll start, okay? I'll start. Ryan, do the same
Yeah.
thing. Start.
Wait, should we hold this for the next episode and make it another draft? You want to do it
Let's
now?
go,
Off
let's
the
go.
cuff?
Let's go.
Off the
Let's
cuff,
go,
another-
let's go.
Round snake?
Off the-
All right, let's
the
do
cuff,
it.
off the
We'll do it.
cuff.
We'll run it back.
They're just-
Off the cuff, 3-round snake. Emmanuel, you're first. We're cycling the order. Emmanuel, me, John, snake order again, 3 rounds. Off
John
the cuff.
said he's
Let's go.
starting.
3 rounds? I was just going to say 1, but okay,
Oh,
here we
just
go.
one?
3
Okay,
rounds.
fine. One.
Yeah, let's do
Fine,
it,
we'll
let's
do
do it.
one.
John,
We'll do
you
one.
started, though.
It's
You
fair. No,
started.
it's fair. We'll do one. We'll hold it order. John goes first. I'll go last. One stadium, baseball, football, outdoor, whatever. That'll be sick to hold an MLS game at.
Okay, I'm going to
John, we're
start
holding the
with
same order as the draft. So
Chicago Fire at Wrigley Field.
because they already play their games at Soldier sometimes.
No, they always
So
play
you
at
can't
Soldier
cross-
Theory.
I
But,
know they play
but
one
yeah.
or two games at SeaTac, but yeah.
yeah,
Wrigley,
Chicago Fire
that's
at Wrigley.
sick.
But I'm gonna say Charlotte FC at Memorial Stadium.
Memorial Stadium. I thought you were going to say
Memorial-
something about,
American League.
yo, you had
Are you talking
the
about
perfect
American Legion Memorial
opportunity.
Stadium?
Yeah,
American
but-
Legion Memorial Stadium.
Hey,
Guys.
Manuel, since you love South Carolina so much, this was your perfect opportunity to say Charlotte FC at
Clemson?
South Carolina State, at
Clemson?
Clemson or
Oh,
South
I
Carolina.
don't know
But
about Clemson, dude. I
That-
feel like Clemson was cool though when for the Summer Cup thing that happened last year. It sold out. That was amazing to like just see. I think it was Liverpool and somebody else, but that was cool. That was really cool to see. So I mean, definitely college. Like I said, college stadiums are more than capable to host. But it's your turn, Ryan. Come on, let's hear it.
No, you're totally valid. Like, I thought you meant American Legion, and then I remembered that the Clemson Stadium is also called Memorial Stadium. I know it as Death Valley. That's why I had it mixed up in my head. But no, Death Valley would be a sick place to host. I think if I had to go with like Highmark Stadium in Western New York, and maybe that could be a fever dream sometime down the road, but I won't go there because that stadium hasn't even been up for the NFL team yet, let alone MLS team. But in terms of like overall outdoor venues, could you imagine like, honestly, it might sound crazy, but like let's put a game at Lambeau. If there's a Wisconsin team there already, I don't think it would happen, but it's probably the most iconic NFL venue, period. And I think the idea of having a soccer, like they did host a friendly there at one point. I think like a Man City friendly there like 4 years ago or so ago, something like that at Lambeau. And I remember
Score
that
the
environment
goal?
was just unreal.
score a goal, jump on the stands.
Exactly. You can
Gotcha.
Lambeau leap as your celly. Like that would be sick to do. And I have to remember, but I'm pretty darn sure Man City played a friendly there like 3 years or so ago. And it was like one of the best like environments. And too bad that game ended in a draw, but it was just sick to see. And
Hey,
plus the
we're
Midwest
cooking.
deserves some love.
We're cooking today, man.
We need
With this being
more of these
said,
bantery segments.
I'll let you guys do the MLS picks because I know you guys are the MLS experts, and I have to go.
Peace out, coach.
I'll see you guys next week, okay?
Have fun on Bruno Mars.
Use your microphone when you're speaking.
Use your darn microphone, Emmanuel.
Have fun. Have fun.
We're
You're there
keeping all
long,
that in
forget
the
to
show,
use your
by the way.
microphone.
All
See you
right, have
guys.
fun. Bruno. See ya. Boom. Let's do it.
We love John just the way he is. And for reference, he's going to a
Yeah.
Bruno Mars concert later, so I had to sneak that in there.
Yeah, hopefully he won't be talking to the moon too long. You know what I'm saying? But let's talk about the U.S. Open Cup, Ryan. I know. It was something that you've been keeping up with because you've been calling some of the games.
Oh, yeah.
Last night, Charlotte FC definitely, they lost that out. The vibes were optimistic until that second goal, reached the back of the net. So your thoughts for Charlotte FC, your thoughts for San Jose and Minnesota, what were you thinking? Uh
I'll be honest, yesterday was probably the worst day for me to watch Open Cup because the Sabres are still in the playoffs for the NHLs. The Open Cup took a complete backseat to my Sabres, so I apologize for that ahead of time. But I did watch all the tape afterward, and Atlanta has had a lot of these young guys in the wings for a while. Like I feel like a lot of the guys have been contributing. I've said their names at Next Pro at some point or another, and they've been trying to bring up a lot of guys who are just now getting the opportunity in the last like 12 months or so. And it's very clear that Atlanta is trying to go younger. And for San Jose and Minnesota, like I feel like that just kind of was exactly what it was. Like I think it's also reminiscent of like where they stand in MLS play with like Minnesota being a top dog and but San Jose being the best of the bunch. So I feel like that just kind of was chalk. But as usual, like whenever these things come about, like you have to think of like who are your long shots, right? That might have a chance to make something special out of it. Your Lou Cities, your Colorado Springs Switchbacks, your one Knoxville. Imagine if they somehow get through Columbus Crew. Like that would be ballistic if a USL League One team made it that far. Like I'd be like, no offense to anyone from the world of the Crew, but like I want to see One Knox create some absolute chaos. Maybe another PK shootout like they did against DC, coming back 3-3 to tie it like at the end. Like
yeah.
but that's why but we're in tournament season, right? Between the NHL, the NBA, the Open Cup, what have you. Like we're in tournament season and this is these ups and downs are what you want in the tournament, even though my Sabres lost last night, but I'm optimistic for game 6 the same way that these clubs can be optimistic for what can come. It's whoever's the best in 90 or 120 and you kind of just go on from there, but if you're these USL teams, be proud of where you are, be happy, cause some chaos. And if you're an MLS team, you wanna show off you're the top dog, and maybe if you don't win one trophy, you'll have this one in your back pocket.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you pretty much covered everything regarding the U.S. Open Cup. But if anything, it's interesting to see a lot of these USL teams, continuing to surprise us because of the way the American soccer pyramid's set up, and at times, watching the games, you actually wonder why is it that we have it this way when there's these USL teams competing at the level that they're competing. And we could say that some of the teams in the MLS are playing with a B squad or just up and coming young kids, but still, it's still a conversation to be had.
And like it gives those kids a chance to play, right? Like these next pro guys are the next ones in line. And it's something that I say all the time, even if it's, just one of the next pro broadcasts, like on One Football, for example. Like it's like these guys are the next up in line. They're waiting for their chance. Some of them are going to get it in the Open Cup or when the time comes. Like I think Leagues Cup is coming back this year, even through everything else. We've also seen it in CONCACAF Champions Cup. It's a platform for these younger guys to get their minutes, but it's also a chance for potential experimentation, perhaps. Like maybe you didn't like it in the Charlotte perspective, but maybe some of those conversations were just due to needed experimentation, a chance to change things up, try something new, give it a go. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess US Open Cup, that's pretty much it. I mean, we'll be talking about it as it continues to progress. And
Granted, we're only 2 games in this round, so there's still a lot left to be said that we haven't seen.
yeah, there's still a lot to be seen, like you said. But we're pretty much at the end of the episode, MLS picks, and can't wait to see which one you're gonna say. It's gonna be a tie. So
Still need
let's just
to
go
I
ahead and
still need
get
to
to it,
chart.
man.
I still need to chart everything. I need to see how our
You
picks went
do,
last week
man.
because we lost the footage.
Look, if we keep going, you're just gonna make it harder on yourself.
I know, it's just hard. I keep picking up new gigs that have taken up my time too. Plus, I have 3 games to call this weekend, which is rough as in its own right.
That is rough, dude. But let's
They're
start.
they're back to
Toronto,
back to
San
back
Jose.
also. San Jose's been the top dog in this league, and I don't anticipate them slowing down after an Open Cup win. So it's gonna be probably the Quakes.
Yeah, I agree with that one. LA Galaxy versus Vancouver.
I mean, I'm sure Vancouver is gonna try to pull out all the stops, and plus they've been a top dog also. Is this game in LA or in Vancouver?
I think it's an L.
It is in LA. I mean, Vancouver haven't really played on the road, and LA are gonna close out home dirt. I think LA could potentially get it done.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things going through. I mean, I don't see why the whole relocation topic would affect some of the players right now. Because I mean, it's not like their contracts are in jeopardy, but I feel like
But
there's
we
a
don't
lot of
know that.
distraction going on right now. Yeah, that's true. That's also true. I mean, we think they're good, but we don't know that. So I feel like that could play a role. So I'm gonna say tie on this one. I've never done a
Vibes are
tie in any
down.
of these.
That's
Yeah,
true. He's just like, vibes are down. Vibes are down.
yeah, literally. So Philadelphia, Nashville.
I still don't know what is happening with Philly, and it's the top of the East versus the bottom of the East, and the table is the table for a reason. So Nashville's gonna hang on.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, especially the way they've been playing, man. San Diego LAFC. I'm gonna go ahead and say LAFC.
This is where I take my tie. This is where I take my tie.
This is gonna be a good game.
It genuinely will be. Too bad I'm calling a game
Yeah.
in the middle of it, but I think it'll be really exciting.
The California games are always fun. I know
They're
the
always
derby's
bangers.
derby, but the San Diego LA Galaxy, San Diego LAFC, they've become really exciting to watch.
And they're actually good. Considering that LA Galaxy, they won it all 2 years ago. They're kind of in a retool. San Diego, they were the 1 seed last year. San Jose's the 1 seed right now. Just Cali. LAFC is
Yeah.
always going to be in the semifinal at minimum. Just Cali.
And lastly, New England, Charlotte. I think Charlotte's gonna take this one. They're trying to get back on that winning horse before they come back home. And when I say home, I mean the Bank of America. So that's what I think.
I think New England are going to ride a high after a good draw in the Open Cup because they play Orlando in the Open Cup, which I think they could easily win. And I think they're going to ride that into back-to-back.
Yeah, that's fair. We did have a lot of resting for the Charlotte team, so I feel like that's gonna play into the positive role of wanting to get back on the winning side. So yeah. But yeah, that's MLS picks for this episode, and we'll see what happens. And Ryan, any last words you want to tell the people?
I'm so busy this week, dude. Friday USL, Saturday and Sunday MLS Next Pro. I also have a game next Wednesday as well, so we'll have to figure that one out. I should have said this when John's on the call, but now he's off. I'm doing my first Independence game next week. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
They'll probably mess up our shoot schedule. That's for sure.
You know what? I'm gonna call you during the transmission of it, and I just need you to put me on the mic.
No, not happening. Not happening. You're not getting on the mic.
All right. Well, I'm gonna tell you where I'm gonna be at. If the camera
if anything,
pans
we'll get you
over.
on camera.
Yo, yeah, because I'm gonna be at that game, so that'll be fun.
Sick. On the Wednesday?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, just for that, I'm gonna need your location. I'm gonna ask the camera crew to do because we do that. Sometimes I call for my own shots, not always, but once in a blue moon, I'll call for a shot or hey, can you find me this player real quickly? I want to tell a story about them.
Yeah.
So if I can get a shot with you in it, I'm definitely gonna look for it, and then we're gonna put the screenshot on the show.
Yo, after the game,
it
it's me and John shaking hands, pointing at the camera.
I mean, hey, if John becomes our player of the match, then we're just gonna follow him the whole time. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, for sure. Which I don't see him not becoming the player of the match.
Unless he just doesn't play.
Don't say that. Man,
He's gonna play. He's gonna play. John's gonna play.
Well, guys, that's it for episode 12. No, 11. Almost 12.
This week's edition.
Yeah, but episode 11. But we're excited. We love doing this. But yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, share with your friends. And if there's topics that you guys wish to see more of, or certain things,
drafts, blind rankings, tier lists, any of this, any of these fun business that I can cook up.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, any ideas that you guys have that you guys would like to see on the show, we're open to them. And if you want to come on the show, do comment something below, and you might make it to the next episode. So
DM us maybe.
Yeah, no, definitely comment, and we'll pick somebody from the comments.
Emmanuel's worried about his woman seeing his Insta DMs.
No, I'm not. What?
Whoever slides in his DMs, who's just sliding in the DMs?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's Pablo from YouTube. Yeah, but no, again, like I said, if you want to come on the pod, I feel like we might do this every now and then. Somebody from the comments, just we'll pick you and we'll get your email. We'll send you the link. You'll come on for a couple minutes and just give us your opinion, just don't go crazy.
Or maybe even voicemail style, send a 30-second video. We'll play it.
Yeah.
We'll react to it perhaps. That could be a way to do it too. Or even just if there's Or even like if you have an idea in the comments, like we'll just straight up read it. Like we're not
if it's your
against that.
birthday, let us know. We're gonna shut you out.
Like we're not
if it's your
against that.
birthday, let us know. We're gonna shut you out.
Like you,
And that's how we're gonna end it. I'm a nunk now, so see you guys on the next one.
peace out.